India's Defence Minister Rajnath Singh was on an official trip to the United Kingdom, marking the first such visit in 22 years. Now, not many know that India-UK ties have recently been upgraded to a 2+2 mechanism. It's a template which is taken from Japan. New Delhi usually employs this to navigate foreign and defense relations with a select few strategic partners in the world, like the US, Japan, Australia, Russia, and now the UK. I must mention that the only preeminent strategic partner with whom India does not have this arrangement is France, where deep convergence of bilateral trust and ties transcends any mechanism per se. Coming back to the UK, diplomatic ties between India and the UK have often remained mired in political controversies. New Delhi's sharp rebuttals to the condescending tone of anti-India stories by BBC and to the Khalistani menace in the UK political spectrum have often overshadowed the need to better analyse facets of defence and economic ties between the two countries. Despite significant progress in defence industry cooperation, Indo-Pacific collaboration and a carefully negotiated free trade agreement or the FTA, the analysis of India-UK relations, the UK roles in the Indo-Pacific and its defence and innovation capabilities remains insufficient. Much water has flown under the bridge since George Fernandes, India's then Defence Minister, made an official trip to the UK in 2002. Rajnath Singh's visit has come after 2 decades, like I just told you. The newly upgraded 2+2 mechanism is dedicated to discussing and reviewing all aspects of the comprehensive strategic partnership, given the targets set for the 2030 roadmap for India-UK future relations. Now, an important point that should not be missed here. See, it's noteworthy that Singh's 3-day trip to the UK occurred less than 2 months after Minister of External Affairs Dr. S. Jaishankar's 5-day visit to London happened during Diwali 23. So, Defence Minister Rajnath Singh was received with a state welcome. He engaged with his counterpart Grant Shapps, the Foreign Secretary David Cameron, and the Prime Minister himself Rishi Sunak. Singh also interacted with members of the 1.6 million strong British Indian community. The pictures were all over the internet. But what was the prime focus this time? It was clearly defence industrial cooperation. Accompanied by a Ministry of Defence delegation that included senior officials from the Defence Research and Development Organization, also known as the DRDO, Service Headquarters, Department of Defence, and Department of Defence Production. The focus area of Singh's visit was the deepening defence industry cooperation and collaboration. This effort involved building upon the discussions initiated during the November 2023 Defence Consultative Group or the DCG meeting in New Delhi as well. Among other developments, a letter of agreement has been signed between DRDO and the UK's Defence Science and Technology Laboratory, the DSTL, which will go a long way for joint research on innovation in defence technology. The Joint Working Group on India-UK Electric Propulsion Capability Partnership 2022, which has seen a steady advancement, was also one of the important topics of discussion this time. So the thing is that the Indian Navy has been considering adding electric propulsion systems to naval vessels currently lacking this capability. This move will power the future fleets of both India and the UK toward interoperability of vessels in the maritime domain, particularly in the Indo-Pacific. It is also futuristic as the impact of electric propulsion on military hardware is significant in reducing carbon footprint and improving ship navigation economy. Needless to say, upgrading to EP is fundamental to the Indian Navy's rapidly growing force. It is one of the most important steps to adapt to reliable, proven, efficient, effective, economical and environmentally friendly state-of-the-art technologies. And there's more to UK-India defence industry collaboration. In 2022, India and UK set up another joint working group on strengthening defence industry collaboration. The following year, the UK issued its first open general export license in the Indo-Pacific region to India to shorten delivery time for defence procurement. So, Rajnath Singh also assessed the progress which has been made on commitments within the India-UK partnership concerning India's indigenous combat aircrafts like the light combat aircraft Mk2 and advanced medium combat aircraft or the AMCA. In an effort to support the Make in India program, Thales in the UK and Bharat Dynamics Limited have recently signed an agreement to produce next generation very short range air defense missiles, also called the Vishorad, in India, which will be supplied to both UK and Indian forces. Similarly, MBTA UK has established a live build capacity in India for the agile and much in demand advanced short range air to air missiles or the ASRAMs in partnership with the BTL. I must tell you that the most significant India-UK project currently underway is the co-development of gas turbine propulsion technology for India's next generation fighter aircraft engines by Rolls-Royce and DRDO. So, on the one hand, Rajnath Singh's visit has given a fresh impetus to all these initiatives, but on the other hand, much ground remains to be covered. As highlighted by a wonderful piece from the British think tank IISS, only 3% of India's recent defence acquisition in the past decade have actually come from the UK. From the UK's perspective, India's stiff procurement policies have rendered some forms of cooperation with the UK defence industry quite commercially non-viable, so it's not really profitable to them. But that said, a better know-how of India's diverse defence procurement pathways can offer solutions. The role of political leadership and enabling frameworks becomes significant here. The Indian government, for example, can also take decisions to enhance overall ecosystem for attracting better foreign direct investment or FDI. On their part, the UK government can incentivize its defence industry to enhance its engagement with India. Ultimately, where there's a will, there will be a way. Now, let's come to the second leg of common interests between UK and India, which is the Indo-Pacific region. So, the UK has recently joined the Indian Navy's Information Fusion Center for the Indian Ocean region, the IFC-IOR, at Gurugram. A British lieutenant commander stationed there has been working on developing maritime domain awareness capabilities in the IOR and in the wider Indo-Pacific. The UK has also decided to send a Navy ship to the Indian Ocean this year. For the UK, ramping up maritime presence in the larger Indo-Pacific gets its fuel from the 2021 foreign policy document, which has been titled Integrated Review for Global Britain. Engagement with partners like India, Japan, South Korea and ASEAN countries has been a priority for the Brits. India's unique location in the IOR and the ongoing defence industrial cooperation quite complements India's role in the UK's Indo-Pacific tilt. However, the devastating implications of the Russia-Ukraine war for European security led the Sunak government to update the document in March of 2023, addressing a world that was more contested and more volatile than ever. With regard to the Indo-Pacific, the document mentions the deployment of the UK Carrier Strike Group and 2 offshore patrol vessels to the region and co-launching the Partners in the Blue Pacific initiative. It also proposes linking the Euro-Atlantic and Indo-Pacific theatres through 2 major defence and security partnerships. The first is AUKUS with the US and Australia, and the second is the ambitious Global Combat Air Programme, the GCAP, with Italy and Japan. India, for the record, is mentioned 10 times in the document as well. So, to conclude, I'd say that the upgradation of India-UK ties and the subsequent headway made in all aspects of bilateral relations suggests mutual efforts on both sides to enhance convergences and handle divergences, particularly regarding Russia's war in Ukraine. However, London needs to address the issue of Sikh separatist activities in the UK more effectively. Despite the formation of a working group to tackle this particular challenge, instances of repeated vandalism at Indian High Commission properties continues to be reported, and this is something that India has taken very serious note of. Moreover, 2024 is the year of elections globally. India is gearing up for Lok Sabha elections in May. Meanwhile, UK, along with its closest ally, the United States, will also hold polls around the same time later in the year. Sunak recently hinted that the UK would go to vote in October, while the American presidential elections are scheduled for November. Despite bipartisan support for India and the Indo-Pacific in the US, the situation in UK is a little bit tricky. In the likely scenario of the Labour Party returning to power, although support for Ukraine will be maintained, hints dropped by the party on the Tories' Indo-Pacific tilt are not very encouraging for now. Will the Labour Party, in case they come back to power, fall in line on the Indo-Pacific strategy? Seems likely because of the geopolitical attention and UK's interests in the region. I will be back to discuss that and more. Stay tuned.